What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Main Event Mixer. It seems like we haven't done one of these in a couple months. I could be wrong there, but as you can see on screen, I am not alone this evening. I haven't even introduced myself, but you know who I am by this point. I am Mr. OTM from the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, and I am also joined by one of my co-hosts, Jim Tucker, or as I like to call him, Turkey!
You are not alone. Mr. Cincinnati and I are here with you. We're on a Main Event Mixer. What better way to round out the weekend heading into a Monday Night Raw being kicked off by Rhea Ripley? It's not just you and I, Gags. We're joined by @Junkies Pod, Mr. Cincinnati from the Wrestling Junkies Podcast, repping Gorilla Press Apparel. Mr. Cincinnati, how you been, and what's up with that shirt?
It has been it's been a long week since I've seen you boys, but Gorilla Press Apparel is the newest sponsor of the Wrestling Junkies Podcast. Use code WJP2024 for 25% off of your total order. Got some new designs coming in September, as well as some special cross-branded apparel that is in the works. So cannot wait to share that with all of you guys. To all the wrestlers out there, promoters, referees, if you're in the wrestling industry, Gorilla Press is also taking commissions right now. So follow @Gorilla Press app APP on X, Gorilla Press Apparel on Instagram, and hit up Will. He's a great guy and does some phenomenal work. So go support the crew.
And for those watching, met Mr. Cincinnati last week, far more jacked than the t-shirt gives him does justice. I'm going to tell you that. I'm a body guy, self-proclaimed body guy in the pro wrestling industry. Eric could fit in a set of spandex. I'm telling you, give him some trunks. He's got the arms for it for sure.
Now you're making me blush, man. Come on.
I will refuse to stop.
There's a lot of love that comes from Tucky, so get used to it. He's got nothing but love to give.
I'm a person that loves people,
yes,
including the Great Brown Hope. He said a comment. He's here, GBH in the house.
Yes, he is. He said, cheers, fellas, as he's sipping his mimosa. That guy is always on one. We appreciate him. Make sure you check out his blogs, of course, on our website. The way you'd be able to access that is by following us on all the socials. @mainevent_net is where you're going to catch all of our content. Like I said, Great Brown Hope just pumped out a couple blogs this week. Of course, we got our podcast, the On the Mark OTM podcast, and the Wrestling Junkies, amongst other shows like Tino's Times, Wrestling. We got so much. Tim Vicious, the list goes on and on. So make sure you are following us @mainevent_net. And also, if you want to support the network by heading on over to the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com, you can get yourself some Main Event swag. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies, and we got the retro stuff as well that Tuck created. Tuck, you got to let these people know about that retro logo. It's sharp.
Well, I tell you what, you give a guy some vitamins, a couple minutes on Canva. Let's clip art a guy suplexing another guy. We got a retro logo. You got to go check it out. Main Event Wrestling Network. It's fun, and the Main Event Wrestling Network is growing. Sponsored a match, so this is fun. And without something like the Main Event Wrestling Network, I don't know that our weekend in Cleveland would have been a 12 out of 10 the way that it was,
No, that's a fair point. And speaking of the sponsorship, Mr. Cincinnati, I know the Wrestling Junkies podcast is also sponsoring that event. If you want to tell the listeners a little bit about what's going down next Saturday in Pennsylvania, sponsored by the Main Event Wrestling Network.
Yeah. Go ahead. Check out Summit Wrestling Association. Incredible roster of talent there. Everybody from Red Dog, Comet NK, TJ Sykes, Studio Chris Andino, who was on our show last week. Just head to toe, just incredible organization, good group of people. They're crowning their first Queen of the Mountain champion. So women's division's getting some love over there as well. This is going to be an incredible show. It'll be on YouTube. Those will be coming up in the very near future. So make sure to check that out. Give them a follow at SummitPro_PA. I think it is.
I was just going to say, look at the screen. Yeah. I found it. Yeah. Simpatico right there.
Shout out for the blind read, though. He was trying to stay away from the tagline down there. I respect it.
Look at you. And you always are like plugging a million things on your podcast. I don't know how you do it, Eric.
I wish I had an answer for you. At this point, it's just muscle memory.
Mr. Plug and Natty in the house.
Yeah, I like that one. Mr. Plug and Natty, Mr. Cincinnati.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know, Chris. Wait, was it Chris that came up with that one?
I see
We're
that
onto
in a
something here.
script
Yeah.
right across the front of a shirt. Cincinnati.
It'll be a tank top just for you, Tucky.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
You
Gotta
guessed
let those arms breathe a little bit. Robbie Collins, also from the Main Event Network, in the house. What's going on, Robbie? As you can see in his picture, what a flex that is with Joe Hendry. That is awesome.
He has his own section in the WWE tab on Peacock.
Isn't
Is that
crazy?
not wild?
It does.
Yeah, it is pretty wild, especially because he's still under contract with TNA. But we're not going to be talking about anything TNA related. We're kind of just going to go through the stuff that happened this past weekend. I texted these guys. I figured since we haven't done a main event mixer in weeks, months, that we'd get together and chop it up with everybody live, because we also like to interact with you guys that are joining us live here for the main event mixer. So leave your comments. Let us know how you're feeling about everything as well. And boys, why don't we talk about Smackdown that happened this past Friday? What do you say?
Why don't we?
Let's get into it. And let's start with Santos Escobar, who got a win versus Andrade. Granted, it was not a clean win on Friday, but it seems like he's next in line to potentially face off against LA Knight, who is now our United States champion. First off, LA Knight, new theme song. What are our thoughts?
Eric?
So I only saw the text before I actually watched the show on Saturday morning. So I was concerned that LA Knight got Def Rebeled. But I do really like this theme song, and I think it's because it's not a Def Rebel remix, and that's why it's like, okay, all right, this was pretty good. And then the second I said that, Graves is like, I forget the name of the band he said that redid it, but it's like, that's why this is pretty good. So yeah, no, I'm good with it. I mean, it's still that same essence of LA Knight that we're used to, and it's still got that bombast to it. So
Letdown.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna,
Letdown.
Who is it?
Letdown.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, I think it works. Especially it new theme song. He's a new U.S. champion. I mean, they're all in on him as far as this this particular championship, and I'll be intrigued to see where they start with him.
Yeah, I just preferred the old one. I just don't understand why we always gotta change people's theme songs. Maybe I'm just stuck in my ways, but I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. But Vogus does have a complaint, Tuck. He said you got to switch to Sprite, please. It's for the brand.
I agree.
Okay, there you go. Great Brown Hope says Andrade and Santos put on a Lucha Libre clinic. Yes, they did, Tuck. I think it was probably the wise choice to go with Santos now that Andrade seems to be positioned as the babyface. Him versus LA Knight probably wouldn't have worked. But how are we feeling about Santos Escobar and maybe being the first one to step up to LA Knight?
I think it gives him a little more something. LWO is in that like early Judgment Day kind of opinion of mine, where like Judgment Day was a thing and it was happening, but the wheels didn't get spinning quite yet. And I think WWE likes Escobar, and I do too. Like I don't have a problem with him. This is something. A good start to hopefully a fair, it doesn't have to be a year-long reign from LA Knight, but I think it's a great first opponent, and I think the match should be pretty good.
Mr. Cincinnati, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, Santos Escobar, since he has aligned himself with Electro Lopez again, as well as not Joaquin, but Angel and Humberto, it does seem like there is a commitment to trying to get LDF to work in this incarnation. So the fact that he continues to rack up kind of these surprise wins, I mean, this says that there's a return match down the line at some point, for him and Andrade. I don't think that Santos is going to win the United States Championship. I mean, I don't expect them to do a title change anytime soon. But we've talked a lot about this on our show as well, and I've talked with my brother at length about this. But not every angle that we see on Raw or SmackDown has to culminate in a pay-per-view match in order for it to be a good story. Sometimes there are feuds that are just TV feuds. Santos Escobar and Andrade could definitely fill that need. I think it was like Great Brown Hope that said that Lucha Libre Clinic.
Yep.
I mean, run it back, another time, two, three times. I'm here for it.
Andrade is another guy that's, I think, finally starting to get heated up a little bit on Friday Night SmackDown. There was a lot of buzz when he made his return at the Royal Rumble. Then he was kind of off TV for a little bit. And it seems like now they're starting to kind of figure out where they need Andrade to be on the card. I don't see him immediately as a main eventer, but I think eventually we're going to get to that point. I don't think him losing to Santos Escobar really hurts his stock.
No, and not in the way that he lost to with a handful of tights.
Right. I mean, that's just what heels do. So, yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Cincinnati. If Santos does face LA Knight for the title, there's no chance he's winning. But I think eventually you do got to go with Santos Escobar, at least with the mid-card title.
And I think because it's so early in the LA Knight reign, this could be a match where by the end of it, you would have had your hand up once or twice thinking that Santos might actually win it too. Because he is a heel and there's always some shits too. So it could be one of those matches early on that it could elevate LA Knight as well. I think I thought of so many matches where you go into it thinking you're dead set on one guy, but Rey Mysterio does that a lot where you're like, okay, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He could win this one too, you know? So I think it could be a great match.
Yeah, for sure. And like Great Brown Hope's saying, Santos and LA can carry SmackDown for a good 3 to 4 weeks with their feud. My question is, though, and maybe we just need to put on our fantasy booking hats here real quick.
On it.
How long is this LA Knight reign going to be? Do you think this is something that they keep until WrestleMania next year? It's a tough call because the 4 new champions, one of them's gonna have to lose it early.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. It wouldn't surprise me if he loses it at the Rumble.
Is there a name in mind that you think would be a good candidate to maybe defeat an LA Knight? I think Carmelo Hayes would be a slam dunk pick, pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, right now, not immediately off the top of my head, and I think a lot of it is because it's a very face heavy roster right now, and we're starting to, we might see Kevin Owens, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. I mean, we might see that heel turn coming at some point before the year is out. But I do think they need to balance that roster out a little bit more because there really aren't, I can't think of anybody immediately that would be a contender. If you want to go long shot, break up A-Town Down Under, like Grayson Waller, get a crack at the title. Like they seem to be wanting to turn Austin Theory babyface within that group anyway. I think that, and that's what could be a little worrisome is that this might be one of those reigns where LA Knight's better as the hunter than the hunted when it comes to the championship, but we'll see.
Tuck, that's something we talk a lot about too. It's very hard for baby faces to maintain their title reign because the chase is always more exciting.
Yeah, and I think at some point, this Roman Reigns thing is compelling because he was a baby, he was a heel, and now he's coming back and going to be a baby face. And can he take it and dominate it? There's like a baby face without a group or another full faction to fight with is he's in a tough position because you always want him to win, but he's the baby face has overcome, has Cody finished the story, right? That was the story. And then I'm intrigued, but I think it is much easier for a heel to hold it longer because you have so many more outs with the way they can win.
Yeah, 100%. And Mr. Cincinnati, you talked about all the top baby faces they have right now in the WWE. There was a tweet from Pro Wrestling Finesse that came out a couple days ago, and they just shared a picture of their top baby faces right now, and I'm just going to name them all for you guys. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest, LA Knight, Rhea Ripley, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Bayley, Randy Orton, Bianca Belair, Jey Uso, Becky Lynch, and Rey Mysterio. Those are all Hall of Famers, guys, and that's top baby faces right now.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Pretty freaking good. I'm cruising through the roster right now, and LA Knight is the United States champion. Jacob Fatu hunting some gold, maybe that could be a really good feud. I'm just looking at names trying to pop up, but you keep scrolling and you're like, no, it doesn't make sense. People I've also never heard of with some of these NXT guys and gals, but it'll be interesting. We got what we wanted, but now where do we go from here? That's always the plight of a pro wrestling fan. We cheer ourselves into a corner sometimes. So
And a good point from the Great Brown Hope. He said, and that's not counting the NXT baby faces that'll be coming through soon. Yeah, NXT's doing great things as well. And that probably my favorite weekly show, NXT, I would say. I don't know about you guys.
No, I'm loving Raw.
Yeah, Raw's been good.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a time when I would miss Raw before I missed NXT. But I don't know. Monday nights are just, they're great now. They really are. It's and that's not to take away from anything that NXT's got going on right now, because
Right.
I mean, TNA and that relationship is really, helping to bolster that roster. But I think, there was still some concern about it thinning out once some of the call-ups came after the draft, and they've seemed for the most part to have worked through a lot of those issues. And certainly having Jordan Grace come in, Joe Hendry is going to be a staple there, it sounds like, for the foreseeable future. So yeah, Shawn Michaels is taking very good care of Triple H's baby.
Yes, he is, for sure. And Hank the Tank, thank you for stopping by. He says hello to the main event crew. Appreciate you, boss. Great Brown Hope said Joe Hendry should have been on that list. Yeah, I would have put him in that conversation, but he's still technically a TNA superstar, so I can't, say he's a WWE guy.
He's a
But
piece.
Like talked about, he's got his own section on Peacock.
Which I also think is another chip to play that he should probably be mentioned. Like, he is a TNA superstar, but he's on NXT like every week. So he's a piece they're relying on. It's another one.
He's going to eventually sign with WWE, right?
Oh,
Yeah, he's I think his contract is through the end of 2025. But I mean, if this partnership remains the same, then nothing's really going to change. I think it was a Cultaholic video I was watching last week. I think he already gets to just go train at the Performance Center whenever he wants already.
Full
as
time.
it is. So it's like, okay,
Wow.
I mean, if you can still do that while under contract to TNA and you're getting your reps in a state-of-the-art facility and getting, the opportunity to take advantage of it without being under contract there, that's good business.
And I think it's smart for TNA to become a washing machine. They generate new stars to send up, and they can be a great opportunity for guys to go down and refresh in a different brand that doesn't necessarily feel like an NXT demotion sometimes, but you see people go down to NXT and get refreshed all the time, and TNA can become a washing machine like that too. Yeah. Is there ever going to be a company that will match the financials of WWE? Probably not. So then you have a bone to pick, right? You can go against them, or you can become one of the minor league teams too, and part of the network, like the Main Event Wrestling Network.
That's the best network. Network is on top over here. But,
yeah,
a lot of exciting stuff going on right now. But you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Eric, that we could be seeing a heel turn from one of those top baby faces coming up. We come to find out on Friday that Kevin Owens is going to get a title opportunity at Bash in Berlin, which is very interesting because on screen right now they're both being presented as friends. KO's been by Cody's side this entire time with this bloodline feud, but it's an interesting spot because there really was no other heel option, in my opinion, on that SmackDown roster. I think it's a little too soon to go back to Roman Reigns, but Eric, let me go to you first. How do you feel about Kevin Owens facing off against Cody here? Because yes, it feels very predictable, but we still could get some extracurriculars after the match, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, and I saw this kind of floating around online, people complaining about, okay, well, Kevin Owens, like, there's no story to this. Why are they making this match? The entire episode of SmackDown was dedicated to telling that story. Basically, Kevin Owens is going to say no, and then Nick Aldis says, oh, okay, well, if you don't want it, then I'm going to talk to Roman Reigns about his rematch. And that's when Kevin Owens is like, oh, okay, all right, look, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, he had an iron grip on it. He made life miserable for everybody on this roster for 4 years straight. Like, why would you go right back to give him his title match and then he begrudgingly takes it? But I mean, let's be honest. Kevin Owens, at the end of the day, is a prize fighter. Like, that is what he has always been. So, whether he turns heel here remains to be seen. Just because it seems like a Randy Orton turn could be coming after he is laid out by Gunther at Bash in Berlin, inevitably. But no, this is a fun match. I mean, we're getting into September and the back half of the year at this point, when things tend to slow down a little bit story-wise as you get ready for Rumble season. So, if this is something that they want to do and maybe get a match or two out of this, and again, hopefully even out this roster a little bit by turning KO. yeah, I have no problem with it. Kevin Owens has been great battling the bloodline for 4 years. And it's not like I'm not necessarily clamoring for a heel change, but it's probably about time.
Yeah, and after all those baby faces I just listed, I definitely think if anybody could flip to the other side, Tuck, Kevin Owens would be a good candidate. And he kind of feels like that pick and plug guy where they're like, I don't know what story we need to tell. Kevin Owens, all reliable.
He's the super utility guy. He's the guy on the roster that can play outfield, middle infield. He can play corner infield. If you need him to catch, it's not going to be pretty, but he's putting on the gear. And KO is, I think, a good candidate right now as the season is softening. But also, here's another one where it's like, well, Cody's going to win next. When's it going to happen? Next paper at PLE, Bad Blood. Who's gonna come back with some bad blood? Other than Taylor Swift, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Roman Reigns probably has bad blood. Cody Rhodes. I don't know if that's really going to main event bad blood, but...
I think I'm getting the Jordans.
The Roman Reigns ones?
Yeah, January 2025.
Yeah.
How much are they?
Probably 200. They're Jordans, dude. They are Jordans.
Made me buy a Briscoes 2-pack.
I didn't make you fucking do a thing, bud. I showed you a picture.
Post-show OTM this week, Eric. We're just chatting, of course, and
Sure.
He's like, I'm getting the Briscoes. And I'm like, oh, how much is it? He's like, oh, $50. Like, oh, that's not bad. You're getting 2 figures for one. So I bought it. And there they are. They're right, they're right behind
I like it. I like it.
Anything else, though, from Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes?
Weird. Like, I get it. It's fine.
I wish there was a challenger for Cody that we actually could believe in, defeating Cody.
Anybody out there? We don't have any looming returns, do we? Like women's division, you got Charlotte that could pop anytime, Becky, but like, is there a weird return? Does SmackDown have a problem? Is there a SmackDown problem?
Well, SmackDown's just kind of the bloodline story, and then the United States Championship scene. That's about it. And the tag scene. They kind of are paying attention to the tags. Like, we got Street Profits versus DIY for number 1 contenders, I think, next week.
Yeah.
I think DIY should probably get that chance back, don't you think?
No, I want Street Profits to heat up.
Yeah. I feel like, automatic rematches, either they are a thing or they aren't at this point in 2024 in WWE. It's like, okay, DIY lost their titles, but they've got to go through a tournament in order to get their rematch back, even though Nick Aldis in the same episode is talking about a potential rematch between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes for that title. So,
yeah.
But KO did remind him, he's like, the rematch clause hasn't been a thing in years.
I did also really appreciate that too. Yeah.
He's the most realistic in the know wrestler. Like, he picks up on wins and losses. Hell, he could, maybe Kevin Owens should be in AEW, but then again, they don't keep records over there anymore, do they?
They show them.
Maybe.
They show them on the title graphics, AEW records and stuff like that.
Where's the rankings,
Yeah.
Wasn't that supposed to
That
be
was a thing that happened, went away, happened again, and here we are.
Hank the Tank says Jimmy returning soon. I think we're definitely going to see that. Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, they're going to have something to do with all of this. So it's going to be fun to watch going forward. But speaking of Roman Reigns, let's talk about the original Tribal Chiefs return to SmackDown. They waited to the final segment for Roman to return to SmackDown. And I tell you what, he's got the crowd on the palm of his hands, and he hasn't even said a single word to the audience since his return talk. That reaction for him coming out and just destroying all Bloodline 2.0 on his own, might I add, generational shit right there.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wanted some words. I was a little like, man, I wish he would have talked, but I get it. But now going into next week, I hope he does return. I hope this is a thing. Like, they got to start building and heading somewhere with it. I wonder what it starts to look like. Bash in Berlin probably too soon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Do you think, Eric, that he might be on that card, or they probably just push him back a little bit?
Yeah, I don't really see a need for him on this card. My initial thought is we'll probably get, people that were not on SummerSlam's card that will probably get these opportunities in Berlin.
Probably a 5-match card, right?
Yeah, exactly. With Roman, I'm also totally good with the fact that, yes, this is, his second appearance on TV since WrestleMania and hasn't said a word yet, because no matter what, this has been a 10-year effort to make him this massive over megastar babyface. Now that he's there, I don't think that they need to rush to get the point across. I mean, because we all have some idea of what it is that his end game is. He wants to take Solo's head off, and he wants to reclaim his spot at the head of the table. And ultimately, that's going to lead to this clash between New Bloodline, and Roman is going to have to, essentially assemble the Avengers again. He's going to have to, find ways to make up with Jimmy, Jay, and potentially Sami Zayn. Especially because, think about the Jey Uso angle once he was traded to Monday Night Raw, thanks to Cody Rhodes. Those first few months of it were Jay having to try to figure out, okay, I've pissed a lot of people off over the last 4 years, or we as the Bloodline as a whole have done that. So now that I'm on my own, I've got to start to, repair some of these relationships and, essentially make right the people that I've wronged. Roman's going to have to do the same thing times like 1,000. So it's not going to be, and it's not going to be quick. It shouldn't be quick. So yeah, let them tease this and let them, give them all the time they need to do it. Because once he does speak, it's going to send shockwaves through the WWE universe.
Absolutely, and I like what the Great Brown Hope has to say. He said, Bloodline defend tag titles at Bash at Berlin. Roman screws them out of the belts by attacking Solo. I think that's a good start to this Bloodline Civil War.
Yeah.
Agreed, yeah.
I'm not sure the validity of it, though. There's speculation that WrestleMania already has their matches figured out for next year. And apparently one of those matches is Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. And my question to you two, because I've seen a lot of complaints already online about it, is that match big enough for WrestleMania 41, or is it even big enough for Roman Reigns?
I think they got time to make it big enough.
Yeah, because, I mean, think about it this way. We still have Bad Blood. They're likely getting the War Games match. So there is a lot of opportunity. No one really bought Solo as beating Cody, even with Bloodline rules at SummerSlam. They just didn't. But, if Roman isn't taking the pin at Survivor Series, give the War Games win to New Bloodline.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. I mean, something I would like to see, if that is the avenue they decide to go down, Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa at next year's WrestleMania, you just have Roman Reigns have one-on-one matches with everybody in the Bloodline. He faces off against Tama Tonga, the infamous Tongaloa. Hikuleo probably is going to be out there. Jacob Fatu. And that's his pay-per-view match every pay-per-view leading up to WrestleMania.
Zilla might be 23 by then. And
Yeah.
We saw Zilla, didn't we, this past weekend? He was by
and at SummerSlam.
He had he was having a very nice night.
Yes.
Wasn't he just hopping around from section
Why
to section?
He was in section 145? About 300 feet away from the ring or anywhere near backstage. Kind of cool. Whatever.
He obviously missed his cue to come out during that final Bloodline match. So.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Maybe we'll see him in a couple years. What's going on, Daniel? Daniel's stopping by. He said he is loving the stream. Daniel, if you are and you're not already subscribed, help us out. Give us a subscribe because we are only, I think, at 39 here on the Main Event Network's YouTube channel, so we need to get our numbers up a little bit.
Well,
that you always say, Eric, on your show, tell one person.
Yeah, just one. It's not that hard. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Doug? I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, he just subbed. We're great. Life is good.
Oh, you're just saying hi.
Daniel's the man. Yeah,
that's fair. And he just subbed. Look at that. Good job, Daniel. We appreciate you. You're the most valuable Mark. Even though that's the wrong podcast. That's not this one. Anything else from SmackDown you guys want to touch over? Or are we good?
I'm intrigued to see what they do with Giovanni Vinci this time around. It's taken they've kept him off TV long enough when it comes to the breakup post Imperium. They tried the singles run in NXT and it seemed a little just odd. But I did actually really enjoy the hype trailer here for sure. So I'm optimistic, that's for sure. And again, LA Knight's looking for potential challengers, depending on what his first couple of months look like as part of the SmackDown roster as a solo act. I think we might be onto something because we know it can work.
That's what I was gonna say. I know Vinci's capabilities in ring, It's just that gimmick in NXT did not work for me. It didn't connect with me personally. I'm not shitting on him. I think he's a very talented person, but yeah, I'm not too optimistic about this run on SmackDown because Tuck, the mid card, as we talked about, is already loaded as it is, and I think if he's going to be doing singles work, that's probably where he's going to be, and I feel like he'd get lost in the shuffle there.
Yeah, he could. He could also. Ludwig Kaiser didn't mean much to us for a while, and he's something too. So like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and trust creative and things like that. Like they'll try. They'll switch it up a little bit and mix it up. We'll see how it goes. And I hope what the great Brown Hope just said, Dawkins heel turn could be wild. That's how they both win, in my opinion. Montez is an incredible face, and Dawkins still has something because he's a heel.
I want Montez and Bianca to work on screen just once. I think it'd be good. They're both superstars. Like, why not?
They had a TV show.
Yeah, but like storyline. Like
I know, but what I'm saying that they had a TV show together. Why let them fight people?
I mean, I don't know if you guys read Becky's book. She talked about how her and Rollins were put in a relationship storyline like 3 months into their relationship, and it was super awkward. It's a little different here. We can at least do that. They've been married forever, but I digress.
It's the next one for my summer reading. So yeah.
To be fair, I got to page 280, and then Ian told me about the audio, so I just listened to the rest.
Still counts.
Yeah.
Read the book.
Yeah. You consumed the book.
I did. Daniel, this is going to sound crazy, but us three right here on screen, we were there for that. We acknowledged our tribal chief, and it was crazy. It was a great time.
Yeah.
He does have a question for us. In your opinion, does main event Jey Uso need a world title? Or if not, does he join the bloodline with Roman? Tuck, what do you think?
I think I don't think he needs a world title, but I'm ready for him to get into a feud with somebody about something. Like where I'm ready to yeet with him on his way to something. But I think he should be the last one to join the bloodline feud in some capacity, because I still like him as a solo and what he is on the Raw brand, which right now is very crowded with good stories. So no, he doesn't need a world title, and I also doesn't think he needs to join the bloodline. I would like to have him. I would like to see him have something.
Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I believe me, I would love to see Jey Uso as world champion. I wanted to see him as Mr. Money in the Bank. Given the world champions that we have right now, it's just not happening. And then there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. Gunther is going to do amazing things with that world title. It's just, that's just one of those thoughts. And again, as much as I would love to see it, it's not even something that's not even in the realm of possibility anytime soon. It's just not. I do think that he does reunite with Roman. He should be the last one to do it, because that one's going to hit the hardest. He was the first one in as the right-hand man, and there was all that turbulence on his way out that, that's going to be the hardest relationship for Roman to repair. And they've got to show us all of that in the lead up to it.
I totally agree with what both you guys are saying about Jey Uso. And I don't know what interview it was. It was a recent podcast that he did. But he's even gone on record, Jey Uso himself, saying he doesn't mind not having a title, because he talked about how he's one of the highest merch sellers. He's doing his own thing. The crowd loves him. What's wrong with that?
Well, and how many iconic feuds can you name off that weren't for a title? Meaningful feuds. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre right now, right? Yeah. Jey Uso can get, like, that's what makes it so great. We have great champions, which also means we should get compelling side feuds as well, because the market is very competitive, I feel.
It definitely is. Daniel wants to see him feud with Braun Breaker and Jey win that title down the line. That could be a possibility. Great Brown Hope said I could see Jey Uso winning the Rumble in 2 years. Wouldn't put it past him. Hopefully. Yeah. I don't know if he's still going to be doing solo stuff by then, though. I feel like eventually you got to bring them together. And look at that. And on cue, Daniel goes, when are we going to get Jimmy and Jay back together? I don't know, Daniel. It's a great question.
Yeah. Because I think it's a legitimate Jimmy injury. That's why he was written off the TV. So I think that's a lot of stuff that's just not in our in our control right now. But yeah, I think it's more of they're working on the next chapter of the Bloodline saga, and that's going to take much more precedence over Jey Uso getting a singles championship. When again, over like Rover. He's making that star money without a championship. He's doing just fine.
Yes,
And
he
he's
is.
38. Birthday coming up in 11 days.
Oh, he could still go. He's got time. I mean, Jericho's what, 58? I know I'm wrong, but he's
Come
still
on,
on
dog.
TV wrestling.
What-
It's not
I mean,
great.
Okay, come on, no.
Sorry, I had to go to that one out of all of them. But speaking of Jericho, AEW Collision happened yesterday. Did you guys get the chance to watch?
I saw. I didn't watch the whole episode. The Outrunners are my new favorite tag team. Christian with the referee turtleneck and the finish for the count out, brilliant. Yeah, I got a lot to catch up on when it comes to Collision in general, but yeah, it seems like they have made some real change to the show that has been for the better. So good for them.
And speaking of those changes, they're kind of just, it seems to be setting up in one location at the, what's it called, the esports arena or something
Stadium
like that?
or something.
Yeah.
E-Sportatorium.
Which, honestly, Tuck, I think that might be better suited for a show like Collision. Like, the crowd seemed to be into it, and yeah, the acoustics and everything were great. I thought it was a solid setup for Collision.
Yeah, it's that place is built for a little bit more like an individual production in the way esports are. Like they don't have to load it cost wise. I guess it makes sense until they can start building up like a stable audience to every show. You know, it looks like a packed house there because there's not a 5,000 seats in the venue, right? So I liked it.
Yeah.
And the summer series, right? Like they, like Swerve said, you didn't think you were going to have the whole summer series here without your world champion, you know? So it kind of makes it like its own little kind of story arc where like our time in Texas, here we are.
I tell you what, boys, what I love from AEW Collision was that Texas Bull Rope match that we got between Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo. I'll tell you what, anytime you put Thunder Rosa in a match like this, she delivers. I think right away to her match with Britt Baker, where there was just blood, a crimson mask covering Britt's face.
Yeah.
One of the best matches in AEW history. Thunder Rosa goes over Deonna Purrazzo here. My question to you guys, though, is do you feel like they've already kind of mishandled Deonna Purrazzo, or is it too early to judge? Mr. Cincinnati, I'll go to you first.
I mean, she definitely was a hot commodity when she signed. I just think that, you know, the time as far as her jumping ship, I think this was the right move. She fits in really well on the roster. It's just we happen to be in the middle of the Toni Storm era with the Women's World Championship, and we knew that end game was to get to Toni versus Mariah, which is what it is. I think that they probably should have waited for that initial title match between the two of them until this story was finished up. Deonna, you know, is somebody that should have been in the TBS title division. We'll certainly see how this continues to play out with Mercedes and the contenders they have lined up for her. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that she's been mishandled. I mean, you know, look, we are seeing talent jumping back and forth, you know, between companies, and people are getting signed all the time. That's just the nature of the business. There's only so much television time to go around. There are only so many championships to go around. So I do think it is premature to say that she's been mishandled because, again, I mean, here we are talking about a potential TV match of the year contender here in you know, her versus Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa coming back from the back issues and you know, the stuff that she, you know, the conflicts that she might have had backstage with people. So for her to come back and then to have this barn burner of a match, I mean, this is great, but I wouldn't say that she's been mishandled. I mean, there's still plenty of time. It's not like she's leaving AEW anytime soon. Yeah, just let her do her thing.
That's fair. Tuck, what do you think about this match? I definitely stole the show for me last night.
Yeah, it was a highlight of the show for me. In regards to Deonna Purrazzo, she doesn't do it for me. So I don't know if it's a bad push or I'm more of a Thunder Rosa guy. But Deonna Purrazzo, like she hasn't had really compelling stories. So I guess we haven't had a fair shake with her, to me, if that makes sense.
And like Eric said,
Sure.
There's still plenty of time on her contract to figure things out. She just signed, but Thunder Rosa might be one of the more underappreciated talents, I think, in AEW. And maybe that's just because she's only featured on Collision. Not as many eyeballs are watching her, but ever since she's returned, she's delivered. And before she got injured and was the world champion, I thought she was probably number 2 behind Britt Baker in AEW.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows what might be happening in the future, because I think her promotion, Mission Pro Wrestling, is going on hiatus for a while. I think that was just announced. So I don't know if that is because, she's got something coming up with AEW where she's going to have another opportunity towards things. But I mean, it sounds like, given that change, with the promotion that she owns and runs, that there might be something incoming that is taking away her responsibilities there, that is going to require more of her time and attention elsewhere, and maybe that's was something here at AEW.
Is that company that she runs where Izzy Moreno is their champion?
Yes.
And what are they doing with like the titles and everything? Is everything just like paused for now?
Yeah, like it's not like completely defunct. It's not a goodbye to see you later.
Interesting. Okay, Tuck. Anything else from AEW Collision catch your eye?
No, I'm not sold on the Outrunners yet. We'll see.
Oh, I think one of the Outrunners, if I'm not mistaken, is from Northwest Indiana. Ian knows a little bit more about the Outrunners than I do. I think it was Ryan Matthews, who was formerly on our show, that actually knows one half of the Outrunners. So, Tuck, if you could find that would be great. But I didn't get to watch the main event yet, Eric. Apparently, you got to see it. I know it was the Bang Bang Gang taking on, who was it again? House of Black?
Yeah, I think so. I only saw a few clips on Twitter, but basically, since Christian does not want any contenders for those titles at Wembley, he counted to 9, and I think that I forget who it was, ends up making it to his feet before the count, and then gives a spear, then counts to 10, so double count out for both teams. I mean, it's just such a creative finish, especially with the work that Christian is doing with the patriarchy, that I think he's setting himself up for a fun match at Wembley.
I think that's the perfect avenue for them right now, the patriarchy. I think they fit perfectly in that trios title scene.
Yeah.
Tuck, do you find anything out about
Turbo Floyd from Rensselaer, Indiana?
There it is, right down the road from us.
Home of the Rockets.
That's right. You faced off against them in high school, didn't you?
Yeah. Lost.
Oh.
Bigger school. We were 1A, they were 2A.
I guess you got outran there.
Aha.
Anything else
from in there?
Exactly. Anything else from AEW Collision, boys?
We want to talk about the All-In card?
I want to talk first, though, about some rumors, because we haven't got the chance to talk about it on OTM.
Rumor has it. Rumor has it.
It might be the first time I've heard Adele sung on a live stream.
Come on, dog. It's a mixer. Come on, dog.
So, as you can see on the screen, and it's been hot in the streets, at least on X, speculation has run wild that the Lucha Brothers, former AEW tag team champions, and Ricky Starks, another former champion in AEW, are apparently headed to WWE once their contracts expire. Tuck, the Lucha Brother one, kind of a little surprising, I guess. I mean, they did have a good run in AEW. They were on TV a lot, but Ricky Starks is a name that you and I, and I'm sure millions of other people on the internet have been speculating going to WWE ever since Cody Rhodes made that jump. So I'm not too surprised to see that news.
No, I'm not surprised about the Ricky Starks. The Lucha Bros is more surprising because they felt inherently more indie. I think Ricky Starks has a better opportunity to succeed given he's better on the mic, like he's more presentable. Like, I can't wait for the Lucha Bros to come into one of those tag divisions and spice it up, though. I do think it'll set a certain bar for match quality. I like watching the Lucha Bros. I'm into them.
Eric, how do we feel about these rumors? Because I think we're gonna get all three of these people in WWE very soon.
Yeah, Ricky Starks isn't surprising one bit. I can't help but think about Tony Khan's comments. Yeah, I'd love to have him back on TV. You're the booker. Like that's you can make that decision, and we're starting to hear about stories that Ricky wasn't fond of or wanted to turn down as far as potential creative. So I can understand that. But I mean, at this point in time, look at Ethan Page and how he has been presented in NXT. He basically got to do the free agency tour that Jade Cargill did. And second or third match, he wins the NXT championship. Ricky Starks can have the same trajectory in NXT. I do not think that he should go to the main roster right away, because it'll be very easy to get lost in the shuffle there, because those are much larger rosters. He'll get the benefit of working with TNA and having some of that crossover appeal as well. Lucha Brothers are different. It sounds like, at least according to the Observer, that they have no interest in going to NXT. And quite frankly, the main roster tag division needs tag teams. So if there is the potential that we're getting the Lucha Brothers and the Machine Guns, let's go.
Dude, just think of all the merch the Lucha Brothers are going to sell in WWE. The Zero Fear, Cero Miedo shirts are going to fly. They're going to be top 5. The masks are going to be money. And like the Great Brown Hope said,
they're elites. They're ultimates.
Exactly. Like Great Brown Hope said on our podcast, he's like, just don't put them with the LWO and we're going to be okay. Facts. I agree. Let's just not cornerhole them into their nationality and make that the gimmick. Just make them their own thing, separate. They were my favorite tag team in AEW, honestly. Lucha Bros always deliver when they were on television screen, but Ricky Starks, man, I agree with Eric. I think he starts in NXT, probably becomes NXT champion next year. I don't think it's crazy to say that Ricky Starks will have that title in 2025. And then eventually you can maybe call him up after a year or two, potentially doing something with Cody Rhodes. I think that would be the money story and the introduction to him on the main roster if he were to sign with WWE.
Yeah.
Just it's crazy to think where we're at in professional wrestling here in 2024. All these names going back and forth.
Miz talked about it on that YouTube video with Cody. What do they call that?
Shit.
Something to talk. What do you
want to talk about?
Yeah. He talked like it's hard getting on a PLE, dude. It's hard to get on a PLE card now. Night, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for checking in, man. Thanks for subscribing.
Follow the Wrestling Junkies and the On the Mark Wrestling podcast as well.
Right there on cue. Boys, I don't have anything else on the outline, so unless you guys got something you want to talk about, I'm good.
Let's talk AEW All In a little bit. Okay. We got this is eWrestlingNews.com updated card. 0 hour, we got Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii versus Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway. What's that do for you, Mr. Cincinnati?
That just makes me chuckle because Stokely's gonna get that ass beat.
Little fun, hey, is that the first Mimosa match, dude? Or are you on number 2 at that point to make it maybe a little bit better?
Can you clarify what was in your mimosa at brunch, by the way? We were trying to figure out the exact mixture.
So I believe that it was pineapple and strawberry puree, 2 bottles of champagne, and tequila, I think is what our waitress told us. So it was very good.
And you guys drink it all.
Oh yeah.
Hey, it was SummerSlam. It had to be ready for the day.
We had to live, dude.
And Bully Ray was there, so might as well.
Yeah.
AEW TNT Championship, Jack Perry versus Darby Allin.
I like that. I think that's going to be a good one. I don't know. Darby might win that title back.
He could.
I could see it.
Good
Create a little friction with the Elite because Nick Jackson basically promised him the match to keep Jack from getting set on fire. So selfless act in the moment, but it's one that might cost him a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker.
I can't wait for that. Even though Britt's in deep shit right now, apparently.
This is a make or break match for Mercedes, I think.
Yeah.
The matches haven't been bad. It's just her. I don't want to hear her talk.
That's
just the hard truth about it. It's not that I'm not hating on Mercedes. I think she in ring is one of the best of all time, but it ain't clicking on the mic for me personally.
It's very different compared to Sasha Banks.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate because it's the exact same personality. And I think the video she tweeted out at the end of or after Dynamite last week, even Eric Bischoff retweeted and said she needs to do more of this on TV.
Yeah, 100%. So
we'll see.
It ain't working yet right now for me, at least.
Is that a writer's thing?
Yeah, could be.
Probably.
I just because if you talked about it, we liked Sasha.
Yeah,
it's the same person, Do
the writers stink, or does she kind of stink on her own?
We
I don't know.
What else you got over there?
The match I'm most excited for. Can you guess it?
I think the obvious
Swerve Danielson.
What were you going to say?
MJF Osprey.
MJF Osprey. Yeah. I just like that 1 hour match makes me want to watch another, and see MJF, the heat. It's going to I think it's going to be nuclear. I'm so excited to watch that match.
Somebody, I don't know who said it. It might've been Vogus. He's like, so is MJF's current gimmick just what Kevin Owens was doing? I go, yeah,
more or less. Yeah.
I mean,
hey, it worked over at Rev Pro today.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. It was, Osprey showed up, made his first appearance over there since February to chase off MJF as he was about to hit a Tiger Driver 91. So keeping the story alive.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Anything else, Tuck? Or
Tony Storm, Mariah May?
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Even though they're kind of dragging the story now. I feel like we're doing the same thing every week.
Yeah, I think they definitely could have gotten away with keeping Tony off of TV until the go home Dynamite. Right. They really didn't need her, especially with how brutal the attack was. You would think if she's doing the Hollywood starlet thing, it's like, okay, well, if she was that battered and that disfigured, for lack of a better word, that it would be kind of the hiding out and convalescing until you were actually 100% and looks or camera ready again, because she's playing that whole Hollywood.
Will she show up at all?
Exactly.
Is she even gonna be well enough to make an appearance? It's so dramatic. Yeah, I like that.
If they honestly though, the AEW All In does look like a really good card, and I already bought my hotel room for All Out weekend, which is 2 weeks after that. So I'm kind of hoping that some of these matches bleed on over into All Out. And I get to see like an MJF versus Will Ospreay. I think that would be awesome. Or I get to see another match between Mercedes and Britt Baker. That's my hope now. But last year, they did All Out the week after All In, which was a lot. I mean, you only have one show to build to All Out. But last year, I thought All Out was a better card than All In, which is crazy. But this year's All In, I don't see how it doesn't deliver. It looks absolutely stacked. But guys, we've been here for a little over 50 minutes. I say we start to wrap things up. Don't forget to show some love to our guys over at Summit Pro Wrestling. They're going to be running a show August 17th, sponsored by the Wrestling Junkies podcast and the Main Event Wrestling Network. You see their handle right now on screen. Make sure you give them a follow. Like Eric said, that will be on YouTube, so we definitely will be checking that out. Also, don't forget, we have some main event merch available at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com, as well as an OTM tapestry, and the Wrestling Junkies tapestry is still available at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. And guys, don't forget to follow us on all of our socials at mainevent_net. We are always looking to grow this family. Tuck, why don't you tell them some things that they could do and contribute to the network if they were to be interested?
Well, it's podcasts, it's blogs, it's if people like to make graphics, we could always use people that want to be creative in those ways as well. And so if you're a fan, an avid fan, and you want content or you want your thoughts to be out there in some way, there's many different avenues, and we're just a special group of people that I like the connecting part of it. So at mainevent_net, Main Event Network.
That's right. And Eric, if somebody wanted to support independent wrestling and support the Wrestling Junkies podcast, how would they get one of these great shirts?
It's false at Junkies Pod. I'm trying to remember our URL off the top of my head, but the links are all in our bio. So yeah, we've got some great merchandise. Go ahead and give Gorilla Press Apparel a follow as well at Gorilla Press APP. Use code WJP2024 for 25% off of your total order site wide. There's some new designs coming in September. We certainly have some new stuff that's going to be coming to our store as well. So yeah, it's going to be a fun couple of months for the Wrestling Junkies, and follow us at Junkies Pod Monday through Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We've got a great lineup of guests this week, including Sam Holloway and Big Trouble Ben Bishop. So cannot wait for everybody to check out those episodes.
There we go. Ben Bishop on the show. Tuck, you're going to check that one out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You'll be
Big
there.
Trouble.
And if you want to check out the On The Mark Wrestling Podcast, we are live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central. Tucky, myself, and Ian, who is helping a friend move into Indianapolis today. So that's a great way to spend a Sunday. Not. Thanks, guys, for listening. Make sure you subscribe and give us a like, and we will talk to you next time on the Main Event Mixer.